Is the introduction of Victor Von Doom meant to be an attempt by characters in-universe to save the main timeline of Earth 616? It's no secret that phases 4 and 5 have fluctuated between mediocre and outright bad. With only a few standout hits, they often get lost in the sheer flood of content. Marvel has been vocal about their attempts to course-correct this universe, with fewer releases, a more firm stress on quality of their projects, and the restructuring of the remainder of the multiverse saga. Perhaps the biggest overhaul was the groundbreaking casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. But is this casting actually the result of heroes in-universe itself? Is Doctor Doom an attempt to save the Marvel Universe inside of Earth 616 as well as outside? Well, today, let's break down this brand new theory. The events of Deadpool and Wolverine introduced the concept of what is known as an anchor being, figures who are such vital importance to our particular universe that their deaths send ramifications across the entirety of a timeline. Paradox in the TVA reveals that eventually, this death will result in the degradation and ultimate collapse of a universe, which is how most natural lifespans of timelines are measured and come to an end. Normally, this process takes a few thousand years, but a universe will continue to grow more and more unstable without its anchor being until it does eventually fall apart completely. So far, the identity of Earth 616's anchor being has not yet been revealed, but there is a list of characters that it could be. And there is one that stands out as the most likely anchor being of Earth 616. We find it incredibly unlikely that the identity of the Earth 616 anchor being could be anyone other than Tony Stark, the man who kicked off the very concept of the MCU, and luckily, we have a counterpart that we are able to compare him to. In the same movie, it was confirmed that the anchor being for the Fox timeline was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who eventually died in Logan and led to the destabilization of Wade's home universe. In the Fox universe, Logan was certainly an integral figure who helped to shape the events of history, but perhaps the largest scale feat that he ever achieved was saving his Earth from the Sentinel timeline, where Bolivar Trask unleashed a legion of Sentinels on Earth in order to hunt down all the mutants. While Logan has certainly done other incredible things, this is probably the most wide-reaching feat that he has to his name, as the rest of the stories are fairly well contained to himself and his immediate circle of allies. By comparison, Tony Stark has done more for Earth 616 on a universal scale than Logan ever did for Earth 10,005. He put an end to the Chitauri invasion of Earth, who otherwise would have certainly overrun the planet. Tony saved the world from complete annihilation at the hands of Ultron, and this is before we get into his conflict with Thanos. Tony broke the bounds of time and space to undo the single most devastating event in the history of his timeline, giving his life in the process and ensuring that his legacy was secured. This is all to say that if Tony Stark has done more for this world than Logan did for his, then there is a very strong case to be made that Tony Stark is the anchor being of Earth 616. So much so that he will be operating under the belief that this is the case until more evidence is presented to the contrary. We truly believe that Tony is the MCU anchor being. If this is the case, then the MCU may have begun to unravel after the events of Endgame, and someone on Earth 616 may end up realizing this sooner rather than later. If this is the case, then much like Wade did, whoever discovers that this is happening may try to solve it by reintroducing a new anchor being in order to save the sacred timeline. In Deadpool and Wolverine, this is played out to be comedic, but Deadpool doesn't have the power to reshape reality or stabilize his reality in any other way, so in a sort of sad way, this makes perfect sense, as someone else might think the same thing. And someone who we don't know yet may be trying to do the same thing and to bring back Tony Stark. They may be trying to find another variant of Tony that they can bring into the MCU in order to fix reality from destabilizing. Right now, we know that the only person who can travel the multiverse at will is America Chavez, and everyone else needs some sort of technological assistance in order to enter the multiverse. Even Doctor Strange only went through the multiverse with America's aid, and was stranded in alternate realities without her help. So right now, she is the primary suspect. If America learns that her universe is dying, then she may be able to get another variant of Tony Stark in order to save the timeline, thus landing in a reality where she meets one Victor Von Doom. To her, he would look like Tony, and he would probably be surrounded by adequate technology to make her believe that he was a Stark variant. But when she returns to Earth 616 with him in tow, she may be in for a rude surprise. America might eventually discover that this is in fact Dr. Doom, which would explain where Doom has been this entire time. After all, Doom is the monarch of a sovereign nation of Latveria, and a title of this supreme importance would have certainly been mentioned before, especially in the fallout of the Sokovia incident. Sokovia is a fictional nation described as being in Eastern Europe, just a stone's throw away from where Latveria should be situated. This would mean that Latveria should be one of the nations that were most tangibly affected by the events of Age of Ultron, and we know that the United Nations assembled to address this very same issue. All of this is to say that Latveria should have had a voice in the proceedings, but it did not, and this may be because Dr. Doom is not from this reality. This is also already the case with the Fantastic Four, who are going to come from a retro 60s reality that is not 616 or a part of the mainline MCU yet. So we know that Marvel is not shy about introducing iconic characters from other universes and timelines, so Doom is likely in the same boat. This would mean that when Doom arrives, he is going to look for a foothold in this new reality since he sees this as a new avenue to obtain even more power, and Doom may look at creating his own domain on Earth 616, the Sacred Timeline. If this is the case, then the Avengers may still be looking at facing down a multiversal invader, but where we last believed this invader would be Kang, it is now Doom. If he's unable to bring his technology with him, then we may have to wait for him to build a new suit of armor or a legion of Doombots, as he may already have some at his side. If he doesn't, however, then this would be a fantastic way to show just how quickly Doom can adapt to new situations and environments, but he would still be missing one key detail from his iconic comic origins. No matter how much he is able to bring with him, Doom cannot bring the entire nation of Latveria and simply place it on Earth 616. This means that one of two things may end up happening in this regard with Doom and his story in Doomsday. The first option is that Latveria does exist in the MCU, only it's not being ruled by Doom, which is something that Doom may want to fix as soon as he arrives. If this is the case, then he may be from Latveria still, which is why he chooses to specifically target them. The second option is that Doom finds his domain and creates a nation of Latveria around it. We still don't know the state of Sokovia, but considering the events of Age of Ultron happened 10 years ago, it's likely that they've been in the process of making reparations, and that they should have rebuilt by now. This doesn't mean that Doom can't find a way to construct or to take over his own nation, as the Avengers may notice him and try to stop him. After all, Doctor Strange knows that if a multiversal foreigner stays on an alternate timeline for too long, then they run the risk of causing an incursion, which could potentially lead to the complete annihilation of the Sacred Timeline. This would give the Avengers immediate incentive to remove Doom from this timeline, but if he doesn't want to go quietly, then this may see Strange and Doom coming into conflict with one another, which we know has happened several times in the comics. Doom is a sorcerer on par with Doctor Strange, and he has a technical edge that can back him up in battle. This means that if the Avengers are in the process of reassembling, then Strange will need their help. If Doom is from the multiverse though, then the idea that he may be introduced by someone who thinks he's a Stark variant makes a lot of sense, especially if they learn that their universe is dying without the presence of Tony. The point is that Deadpool's heart was really in the right place, even if logistically his plan didn't pan out. So we can't blame someone if they attempt to do the same thing with Tony, but instead introduce Doom into the Sacred Timeline, having him appear first as a savior, later being revealed as a true threat. But anyway, friends, what do you think of this idea? Do you think that Doom is a variant from the multiverse? And if so, is he a variant of Tony Stark? Will someone bring him into the fold because 616 is collapsing? And most importantly, what will the fallout be of Doomsday? As always, friends, smash that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope you're having a phenomenal day so far.